Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Witch Explorer, a tower defense shoot 'em up hybrid. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Pico Games, Witch Explorer originally released to PC in December of 2021. Now in April of 2023, it's available on the Nintendo Switch, and that's the version we're looking at today. This title has been a pleasant surprise to me. So it has that unique blend of tower defense and shoot 'em up, but it does lean more heavily towards the tower defense, so that's something you should keep in mind. With that said though, I've quite enjoyed my time with it. I think it's really cute, and especially if you like tower defense, it's one that I think you should check out. It is cheaper on the PC, so that's something to keep in mind, but the Switch version has been really enjoyable, and I feel the controls work quite well for the system. With that said, let's dive into the game and see what we have here. So, the main menu is actually relatively basic. Your settings are basically limited to language and sound, and then you also have start and load. One thing to keep in mind, start will actually erase your progress if you choose to do so, so most of the time you'll just want to select load. Selecting load takes us to the home screen, and here we'll be able to access all the upgrades that we can purchase for our particular run. But more importantly, there's the Go On Adventure. And the Go On Adventure takes us to this map here, where we have all the various stages that we can unlock. So at this point, there's several different areas that I can go to. The Serene Forest is your tutorial area. You've got the Forest Noir cave, and then there are a couple areas I haven't got to yet. So there's a decent amount of content here in terms of just individual stages. And keep in mind, where this is a tower defense, the stages do have a little bit of length to them. Then we also have one other option here. You can press the X or up button, depending on how you have your Switch controller set up, to go on exploration. And here you can explore ruins, so basically more of just a generic stage, with the ability to get points to unlock mainly cosmetics for your character, Tia, the witch that we play. So starting off, we'll go with the Serene Forest, and the first couple stages are very basic, so we're gonna pick one that's a little bit further in, just so we can see a little bit more of the gameplay itself. So selecting stage 4, we're quickly dropped into the stage itself, and there is a story that if you haven't unlocked the, or rather even if you've completed the stage, the story will always be present. But there's a quick skip button, so you can skip past that. So this is your basic gameplay screen. So most of the stages will have these kind of grids, and the enemies will be traveling along this path all the way to our friend, the Spirit of Life, Matt here. So our job is to defeat the enemies by both placing down elemental spirits and attacking them directly ourselves. So we have a mana, which is displayed in the bottom there, and as we highlight areas on the screen, you can see that there's a little cursor. It's possible to change the position of that cursor. It can be directly below us, one in front, or two in front, and that's important as you'll take damage if you directly come in contact with enemies, so positioning matters quite a bit. As far as the way we begin our stage, you can shoot the crystal, which is our main shot, and that will begin the wave, or rather the stage itself. So then the enemy waves begin to come in. And in the case of this particular stage, since it's still in the tutorial area, it wanted us to use the Undine elemental, the water elemental, which is all about piercing damage. So you can see here that what we're wanting to do is place down enemies place down elementals that will defeat the enemies, and as the enemies are defeated, they'll drop these orange, or rather pink, mana orbs that we need to pick up to increase our mana. as like initially the mana has a value of 8, but as we play through the game, we can get gold to unlock upgrades, and your mana will get a higher value for picking up the orbs, and you'll be able to pull them into the character from further away. There's also a character that we can place down that will also pick up the mana forest, the shade here. And then we've got other fun elementals that we can highlight, some for attacking, some for buffing ourselves. So there's the Sylph, which is the short range but the high speed, so to liken it to a lot of other tower defense, it would be kind of like your arrow turret. And it works really well, so we can go and place those. Let's see, a couple places down, we'll be hitting the enemies quite hard the whole way. There's also the Salamander, which is your slower, long range, higher damage unit. We've got the Fenrir, which is our these cute little snow bunnies here that basically freeze the enemies. They go and slow them down, which in this kind of tower defense can be invaluable. There's one that strikes all enemies within a range, Volt here, and then the whole element of this particular stage itself, the Undine, the piercing. Then we have our Shade elemental, which will collect both items and mana that come within its range, making it so that we don't have to be present for the mana. Because if you don't collect those mana orbs, they'll just fall off the stage itself once they've hit the bottom of the screen. So in some of the busier stages where we're having to move all around, that's something that can potentially happen. So it's nice that there's a unit that can pick up the mana if we're not there. And then the last that we haven't discussed is the Sprite. And the Sprite actually powers up our own shots, so we'll have additional firepower that we wouldn't without the influence of the Sprite. And that does come into play in a couple of certain areas. So after you complete a stage, basically defeating all the enemies, we're taken to this screen here. And here we can either return home. There's a tips where we'll go over a conversation with the spirit, Matt, or the spirit of life. And then there's also this Eat Doll's Lunch, which is another really cute element of it. So Doll was the character that was shown at the return home, and between stages, if you have a lunch available, you can eat that lunch, and it's this a wonderful looking meal which will give you benefits for the next stage. So in this case, +1 HP for Tia and +300 initial mana. I do always enjoy a game that has some wonderful looking food. So for our purposes, we'll return home as we want to show a little bit more of the overall gameplay. So from home, you have the ability to upgrade quite a bit. So if you unlock facilities, you can unlock additional facilities within your home base, either to increase the HP for your character Tia, or you can unlock the kitchen, the alchemist workshop, the summoning chamber. In addition to that, there are also several upgrades which will increase the number of shots that you fire for every button press, and also the ability to increase your mana from those orbs that I mentioned earlier. So some of the upgrades that we've gotten, you have the study, and here we can power up the various elementals. There's also the kitchen, where we purchase better abilities for Doll's cooking. And the alchemist workshop allows us to get the materials to upgrade the elementals, and the summoning chamber is an area where we can also upgrade Doll, who we can actually summon into our fights. And then if we happen to have extra inventory of things, we can sell those back for more gold for this particular menu. So there's a couple different other types of stages. In addition to the one where there's a normal enemy, there's also an above water stage, which acts as a more traditional shoot 'em up stage. So this above water stage functions a lot more like a traditional shoot 'em up than tower defense. So shooting the crystal begins the stage itself, and we'll be attacking any enemies that come our way. But in addition to that, we do have these orbs here, and if we touch them on those little platforms that we can move around ourselves, similar to options in most shoot 'em ups, we can summon elementals to them, and even potentially like power them up, move them into different positions. It just depends on which elementals we want to summon our way. Throughout the course of these stages, the mana is ticking down in the bottom of the stage, but you're not going to run out of them, especially if you've upgraded things. So getting another upgrade orb, we'll go ahead and place, let's go with a salamander on the top. So depending on what type of setup you've got, actually going with something like a salamander would be beneficial, as you can cover more space with those as they're long range. However, there are situations where you might want to have like a Silph or a pair of Silphs, and we'll just put them up front, attacking enemies quite rapidly. There are some enemies that it's not possible to defeat with elementals, and those are the kind of like the big story baddies, the ghosts. Those ones can only be defeated with Tia shots like this ghost right here. And you have to keep in mind also that we can take damage from like touching enemies or those enemy shots. So these stages will also have harpies, and you can run into more powerful enemies like harpies in the main stages themselves. There's also some slimes that are like slower moving through the stage itself, and also like boss fights in the tower defense stages. So there is a fair bit of variety in the gameplay, and really I found myself having a lot of fun with everything that's there. That's not to say that the game isn't without some drawbacks, however. So as far as the minus flavors are concerned, I feel one problem it has is that sometimes the gameplay loop just feels a little on the slow side. So there's like situations where we wouldn't necessarily need to be attacking the enemies directly ourselves, and if there was some way to speed things up, even just as much as a ×2, I realized like it makes it difficult to do that because it is a shoot 'em up. And so you might not want to increase the speed along those lines, but I still think something like that would have been like really helpful. And then as far as our attacks are concerned, we do have the ability to increase the number of shots we fire, but that's it as far as from an upgrade standpoint for you, what you have with your personal attack options. Then there's also the ability to summon Doll, so I'll build up the gauge so you can kind of see what that's like, and that does change things up a bit. But really, my one big complaint with just the attack is just how basic Tia's attack is. So it would be great if there were a few more like options for even like upgrading, like maybe even a different kind of shot. Sometimes like some of the enemies as well, positioning wise, we can get like pinned in, and that can be a little bit on the problematic side of things. But as far as like on the plus side, I just love the cute design of the game itself. Both like the characters that like you have yourself, and specifically all these adorable elementals that we like summon. Specifically, like, well, no, see, not specifically. They're all super cute. Like, there's just like you can't really go wrong with any of them. And then, like, as far as the gameplay is concerned, you have like a really interesting gameplay loop where, in order to kind of like work on upgrading your elementals, you'll be going to stages to like collect items to upgrade them. So you might have noticed there were some crystals on the stage itself, as well as treasure chests. So treasure chests, of course, give you gold. There's crystals that will give you additional mana, and there's also crystals are like trees, mushrooms, like ore that will give you the items you need to further upgrade your various elementals. And once you've unlocked those upgrades, we can like click on them. It's possible to unsummon them, but in some cases we would want to, say, enhance. Like the enhancing the salamander gives the salamander longer range. If we were to enhance a sylph, then like they have a higher attack speed, and if you've upgraded them to the 3-star level, then they have an additional skill on top of that. Basically, what I'm trying to go and say with all of this is this game itself is like truly a very solid tower defense with some like fun shoot 'em up elements in there. So if you're looking for a solid tower defense with some like light casual shoot 'em up associated with it, then Witch Explorer is one that I encourage you to check out. So it definitely comes with a recommend from the chef. Alright, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.